So that's going to be the sort of rough agenda. But as I said again, uh, repeating, please feel free to jump in if you feel, if there is something which is very, you connect with it strongly, या कुछ याद आ गया, तो feel free to उस समय, come in and share your thoughts. So with that, I will not take any more time in the beginning, and maybe I hand it over to Kabir Bhaiya. Kabir Bhaiya, do you want to take it from here?
Yeah, Sairam.
Hi.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'm going to. This is an experience of mine which usually people I don't share with, but I believe that Sai group will understand this because इसको थोड़ा accept करना मेरे family में भी एक दो लोग को काफी लोग को थोड़ा मुश्किल है to digest these facts. What has been going on. I have of course never been a Sai student. I missed it a lot. But I luckily had my dad who used to wake up every morning, a great devotee of Sai Baba, and I used to lie down in his lap at 5:36, and he would be reading Sai Sat Charitra or reciting Japji Sahib, because we are Sindhis, we follow the gurus. And my dad is the one who kind of used to tell me stories every day about Baba, Guru Nanak Sahib Ji, and that's where I think I was blessed to have such a father, because over the years, the only thing we could end up speaking till he passed away was experiences of God throughout the day, and talk about various things that would go on. I think that was the simplest way to. So I have to thank God that first of all I got lovely parents, very lovely parents. मेरे को बाहर देखना नहीं पड़ा, and जो experiences मिले वो घर पर ही मिले, and life moved on. So one of my earliest experiences was when I was about 7-8 years old. I had extremely high fever, and I had fever of, this was the second time fever had come, and it was 106. And in those days कोई doctor नहीं होता था, कुछ होता नहीं था, तो go out at 2 in the night and get a doctor, इतना easy नहीं था. So my parents were bathing me, putting ice on me and other things. So my father prayed to Baba that you make him okay, and through Kabir you tell me that you have made him okay. तो दवाई थी नहीं घर पे, बुखार की दवाई थी, डिस्प्रिन छोटी सी, and 106 they were trying to get it down. Finally in an hour's time थोड़ा recede हुआ, और 1-2 घंटे में मेरा fever almost I went to sleep and चले गया. Now in the night what do I see? This is my first experience. I see that me and my parents are going in a taxi, and there are a lot of large arches of lingams and mountains of lingam, and we are driving through this, 4 of us. We are having a nice experience going through all this together. So anyway, I got up in the morning and I told my dad this is there, and so it was proven that Baba had reduced my fever, and fever chale gaya. So that is one of the first experiences I had. Then till age of 16-17 I didn't have any, I had very few experiences. But then in 1989 something, the life-changing moment happened when I got autobiography of a yogi in my hand through my bua. And the day I touched that book, the day I touched it, within 2-3 days all my experiences started, and it became like a deja vu. I would see Satya Sai Baba in the dream, and only Satya Sai Baba initially. He would be talking to me, telling me something, and to prove that he's come, he would show me what is going to happen the next day. So like if I got up at 7 and I had to go down to get a bread, he would show me that I'm going down, I meet this neighbor, he tells me this kind of thing. Or if I go down, नीचे सब्जी वाला जा रहा है, he has bought a new weighing scale, because you go down to buy every day and you suddenly find a brand new scale, he would highlight that in the dream. So this kind of started happening with me every day. I would go down so I would get up from a dream completely kind of, I don't know what would happen to me, but I would be very silent. I would be sitting as if I've come back from that place, and I would go down. I would see that the sabji wala's got a new scale, or my neighbor is telling me this, or so and so worn this colored dress. So it started it started surprising me, and it started flowing almost every second, third day. क्या होने वाला है, आपका friend college में आपको ये बोलेगा, ऐसे होगा. So all this went on for and has been still going on, is still going on since that day, since 1989. Now, one of my biggest fears and one of my saddest thoughts which used to come in childhood was uh, that whenever somebody used to pass away, one, I was afraid of ghosts, and I would feel that somewhere when somebody passes away, I would see the sadness in that family, and मुझे कहीं पर हमेशा ये डर था कि अगर मेरे पेरेंट्स गुजर जाएंगे तो क्या होगा, how sad it will be. And I didn't know it's going to happen to me. You know, God doesn't one doesn't expect कि मेरे साथ होगा, and वही होता है. Sometimes you what you fear the most and it comes alive, and that was one of my worst fears, and that actually went on to happen in my life. Now, I however believe that my training started on the path of God from 1989 when all these experiences started, so that when parents actually passed away, I already had so many years of company of God, constant company of God, constant experiences. So I could take that hit very badly, which was very bad, but I could take it quite well and continue in my life. So I'm going to tell you something about my parents, my father and Baba, and how it is all interwoven with Satya Sai Baba, and of course maybe Guru Nanak Sahib Ji and other saints. So I'll just tell you a brief short thing about what has happened, and which is a bit, you know, our family is aware of this. Now, my grandfather before partition was standing at his veranda in Sindh, Hyderabad, Sindh, and he was, you know, he had just lost a son who had died at birth, and he was standing at the veranda and looking outside in those Pakistani lanes, you know, छोटे छोटे घोड़ा गाड़ी जाता है. The road is not made of dambar, it is made of those stones and all those things. He was standing there, and he found one yogi in orange dress approaching towards him, and that yogi came directly to him and told him, Pratap Rai. So my grandfather was pretty shocked. He said, how does he know my name? He said, I have a message for you. So my grandfather realized, why this is somebody great. So he invited him home. He said, no, I will not come. I will just come to give you a message. He said, you just lost a son. He said, yes, I've lost a son. And he said that you are remembering your dad a lot. You're missing your dad a lot. He said, yes. He said, that was your dad who had come. And he's going to come back on this date, this time. Take care of him. Because you may lose him for a very long time. Then you will not be able to search him for a long time. You will get separated. And he walked away. Now, it so happened that my grandfather was the son of the first wife who had passed away due to illness. And my great-grandfather had to marry another woman. So the stepmother never kept my grandfather very happy, though my grandfather and father were like, you know, inseparable. And my grandfather had to see a lot of misery because of that. So on the given date and time, which was given by this great yogi, my dad is born. And my dad is near death again. He gets triple pneumonia and he's about to die again. And my grandfather does everything possible to save him, and he gets saved. And so everything is done. He's safe and life moves on. My dad gets married. We are born. And we are born. Experiences start. Baba comes into our life. And my dad has also a great set of experiences, something separate. Sometimes here, you know, So now what happens is, then I'll fast forward and I'll come to, with so many experiences and dreams coming. One day in 1992, 93, Baba comes in my dream, and I studied in Ville Parle. Many of you are from Bombay, so they'll relate. I studied in St. Xavier's Ville Parle near the station. Next to the station, there is another school जिसमें भी एक बड़ा सा ग्राउंड है, और वो ग्राउंड के पीछे अगेन पवन हंस है, उसके बाजू में क्रीमेशन ग्राउंड है. So Baba shows that there is a grave dug, and four of us, that is me, my dad, my mom, and my elder brother, we are sitting around the grave, and हमारे एक दो members के पाँव grave के अंदर है. I'm now watching from inside out, and Baba is also there in orange dress. So मुझे ड्रीम में समझ में आता है that some of us are nearing death. So and this place is close to the cremation ground, and my school is here. So dreams are quite clear, but not exactly. Sometimes they are a bit mix and match. So that depends on how deep you see the dream. So I understand that हमारा time आ रहा है अभी, and this is 4 years before my parents actually pass away. So Baba has shown me a couple of things years ahead in time, what is going to happen. And at that same time, while he shows me this, he's in white dress. Sorry, in that time he's in white dress. Scene changes, we are still there. And then, when you come to Dharmashitra and Baba comes, we separate each box by bamboos, tying them like this, so that, we separate areas. Similarly, there is a box. The grave is still there, we are still there. Baba's in orange dress. And Baba standing at the border of that box and watching some of my relatives. Now, those relatives are wearing white dress and they have dark black around their eyes. They're looking pale, sick. They are not looking very great. And he looks at them very angrily. He looks like this at them, with बड़े गुस्से में देखते हैं उनको. Of course, years later, when parents passed away, these were the relatives who caused maximum trouble to us. And of course, their lives also didn't end up in a very great way. They saw financial benefits, but at personal level, they were very, very unhappy in life. So, and that time, Baba's in orange dress. Anyway, I get frightened. I understand the meaning of the dream, and I kind of forget it because more dreams come. I read Autobiography of a Yogi, and I'm fine. Then in 1995, my brother, who went out abroad to work, he had come in December 1995. He came home and we were all supposed to go to Goa. Then in December, somewhere in December, then I see a dream of Baba. November, sorry. He comes and he's sitting on his red chair with thick cylindrical arms. He rests his arms. And then he's telling me, wake up, wake up. Your dreams aren't reaching me. Your prayers aren't reaching me. Sorry. And then he goes quiet for a moment and he says, no, they are actually reaching me, but I don't know how to answer you. Start praying to me very seriously, very hard. Now, I have a lot of ego that time because so many dreams are coming, such dreams are coming, and I say, oh, now God wants me to pray to him. And he's going to push me very hard on the spiritual path, extremely hard. I didn't realize the seriousness of that dream. I was very stupid and I was very immature. Then in 1996, 4 or 5 months later, on April 7th or 6th, Baba shows me a dream where he's leading a procession. He's in orange dress. 2 people have died. He's carrying them, and some people are carrying the bodies. I'm watching it, and I realize it's my mummy and daddy. And I start crying in the dream itself because I know whatever he shows, even maybe like a hair, it is there. It is there. There is nothing two ways about it. And I start crying bitterly. They're dead. He says, sorry, their time has come. They have to go. I cry very, very bitterly. And when I woke up, I spoke to my dad because he used to get his dreams. We used to share our dreams. And I told him the whole thing that has happened. He calmed me down. And I loved him so much. I told him that, if you're going to die, I will suicide. That had never occurred in my mind before that or after that in my whole life. But that moment I said, I cannot live without it. He calmed me. He said, no, you have to take care of your mother and you have to look after the family. And I'm the younger one. And we discussed it. And he said, no, you have to take care of everything. Sorry, before that in 95, when I was with them, I just forgot that. When I was with them in Goa, when we went finally for the holiday, dad was very happy because he had seen a lot of illness for many years. He had not moved out of the home. And uh, he was very happy to see all of us together. And he said, we'll be seeing many more holidays. But my intuition was so strong. At that time, I told him, no, this is our last holiday ever. We'll never be together again. He got a bit surprised, dejected, but I interrupted and I said, no, this is true. It's going to happen. Of course, coming back to this dream which I saw, and then dad spoke to me. And 7 days later, my dad passes away due to a brain hemorrhage. 3/4 brain gets damaged. He enters coma and he dies. Of course, when he died, it rained on Irla nursing home. The roads outside were dry, but that entire hospital, it was raining for a couple of minutes. And that night, when he passed away on 13th April, which was Vaisakhi, Baba comes to me in the dream. He's offering me a toffee. And I say, you're so shameless. My daddy's passed away. You couldn't save him. But you have taken away everything. I'm crying bitterly. So he tells me very lovingly, stop crying, don't worry. Your dad is with me. And daddy comes from behind. He says, stop crying, don't worry, I'm with Baba. So I get up, I'm fine. I tell my mom, I tell my brother about all this. And next night, again, I'm crying. And then daddy comes and says, Kabir, stop crying. How many times should I tell you I'm with Baba? And then Baba comes back and says, don't worry, your dad is with me. Now, moving ahead to next year, 97, 1st June, again I see Baba in the dream. My mummy is alive. But he comes in the dream and says, you know what? I'm very happy with your mummy. She brings in people at home and she serves them wholeheartedly. I love this habit of hers. She serves people with her heart. Tell her I'm very happy with her. I knew mummy is going, and by 18th June, mummy passed away. Now, life carries on. More dreams are there. I move to Dubai and I get married, and my wife is expecting. So in November, December 2009, again, I see Baba in the dream in the morning at about 4. And he tells me, give me your Sai Sat Charitra. So I give him my Sai Sat Charitra. And actually, that is Daddy's Sai Sat Charitra. It has a white tape, and I tell him very happily, this is Daddy's Sai Sat Charitra. And he looks at me very grimly and says, start praying immediately and seriously. This time, don't make a mistake. And I immediately understand Daddy is coming back. Again, there is an issue. And of course, over years, I realized that in 95, which Baba had told me through another dream, that I had a chance to save my dad and extend his time. But my prayers were not serious. He gave me the opportunity, but I lost it. This time he says, don't make a mistake. So I get up in the morning, wake up my wife, very scared, and we start praying very, very seriously to Baba from that day. Now this is 5 months before my daughter gets delivered. Then on the day when we are going to hospital, which is some days before 28th April 2010, the day we are going, I see a dream. I see that me and my wife are driving a vehicle, white color vehicle, which looks like the vehicle which Christians use for carrying their dead ones. But of course, the back is not closed, it's open. And it's a orange yellow sky, not like an industrial look, doesn't look so great. It causing a very irritable, very bad mood. Suddenly, Baba, when my wife is driving the car and left-hand drive, because we are in Dubai, so I naturally see a left-hand drive, and then suddenly Baba pops in from the left side window from my wife's side, and he's in white dress. He says, "There is a problem. I'm coming with you to the hospital." Suddenly, I find him sitting between both of us. I don't know how he's sitting between both of us, where there is a gearbox. He's sitting on some pipes. He says, "Let's go." So we arrive at the hospital, and in Dubai, government hospitals are better than private hospitals. So we are registered in a government hospital where my sister-in-laws have delivered earlier and everything is good. But they had not allowed my wife to enter the hospital on the due date, because here the rule, there's a funny rule which says that you have to deliver the baby naturally, and this rule applies only if you're through government hospitals. Through private, you can do a cesarean and get a child out. So we had entered the hospital 1 week late due to this bad rule, and of course this has affected many children's lives in Dubai. And we enter 1 week late, and they don't allow us an operation. They say we'll still induce pain for the baby to come out. 1 day goes, 2 days goes, and third day they say, okay, tomorrow we'll do an operation. So I used to be with my wife all the time, and they used to check the child's heartbeat in the morning and in the evening. So they used to tie this tape and some wires on the stomach to check the heartbeat, feel the pulse for 15-20 minutes, and see everything. Now, on the third day, this was scheduled in the morning and evening. But on the third day, I don't go home. I'm sitting there in the afternoon next to Darshika, and we are discussing and we are chatting. And the head nurse says, you know what, you're sitting here, baatchit kar rahe ho, I'll just attach the wire and let's check the child's heartbeat. 2 o'clock, I see everything is fine. And 2:15, suddenly I find there's a dip in the heartbeat. It goes to zero and comes back. So I get a bit frightened. I say, wait, hang on a second. I don't need to react, but let me see. And then starts all the problem. The heartbeat starts going down, down, down. And till then I call the head nurse, the nurses, doctors, they all come running. And my child is gone. There's zero heartbeat. So there's panic. They pick up the entire bed and they don't even wait for the stretcher. They just take it into the operating room. And there was so much panic that other women who were expecting, वो लोग का भी बेचारों का panic हो गया. They saw, there's a situation going on over here. Then few minutes later, a doctor comes. He says, okay, whom do you want to save? You want to save your wife or your daughter? Child. I say, I want to save my wife. So they save my wife. They do an operation, get the child out. Then they come after 30 minutes. They say, your wife is fine. She's sleeping. I go and see her. He's saying, I will give one last chance, because meconium, this is basically because when the child is very old, they pass motions in the stomach, and instead of digesting it, it went into her lungs. So she died because of that. He said, I'm going to give it a last chance. I'm going to insert certain chemicals. And if that comes out, then we are okay. So he gives an attempt, and Simran comes back. She comes back to life. And now they have put a liquid in the lung and it's removed the entire lining. So she's quite sick, weak, and they put her in NICU. So and she starts recovering. But on the second day in the hospital, in their presence, in their caretaking, she gets a brain hemorrhage, 1/4 brain hemorrhage, and 1/4 of her brain gets damaged, and she gets fits. So again, there is panic. And keep in mind, my dad had 3/4 brain hemorrhage, and I felt as if 1/4 was left, which had to get complete. And anyway, so doctors are again crazy, and she goes through hell in the hospital. And she then, due to this problem, which was primarily due to the hospital, she gets something called as quadriplegic cerebral palsy, in which the motor system is destroyed. And of course, till today, she's still got some paralysis in the hand, feet, and other things. So she's in the hospital and she's in a bad condition. So one doctor comes and tells me after a few days, your daughter may not leave the hospital. So I don't know whether he means whether she's not going to live anymore or she's a permanent thing, member of the hospital. वो time पे दिमाग नहीं चल रहा है, you don't understand things. But she starts improving. We do a lot of brain scans, EEGs, other things. Then they say, you can leave. After 33 days, they say, you can leave. But she's not turning. She's not moving. So they say she may not turn, she may not crawl, she may not walk. And it seems quite confirmed because there's hardly any movement. Anyway, we bring her home and still Baba blesses us with dreams, and we're not very frightened because that dreams are so strong that we are still managing the situation. Now, for 1 year, she doesn't crawl and she turns. So just a few days before Baba passes away, that she was born on 28th of April. So and my daughter used to moan in the dream, moan in the sleep. She used to make a lot of noise as if usko bahut pain hai, kahin pe kuch problem hai. We tried to take to doctors, but समझ में नहीं आ रहा था क्या है. Then about 1.5 to 2 days before Baba passes away, before they announce his passing away, I see a dream in the morning at 4 a.m. I see Baba sitting on a charpai. You know how Punjabis and North Indians sit on the charpai, bed jate, paun lapet ke, and there's all women are sitting, and my wife and my maid. My maid is also a very spiritual person. She gets dreams. We have grown up together for 25, 30 years. She's like my younger sister. So my wife is holding Simran, and Baba grabs her and says, "Give me." And he puts her on the shoulder and starts patting her. He says, "Stop crying now. All is over. All is over. You're fine now. Relax. You're okay. All is finished. Stop crying." So I get up. When I get up, I hit the cupboard is much high above my head, but I don't know how I hit the thing, and I realized Baba's gone. And I hit it very badly because something similar had happened when my dad passed away. And but then they announced Baba's passed away, and I run to Puttaparthi. I land in Puttaparthi, and my wife calls me. She says, "You saw the dream 1.5, 2 days back." I say, "Yes." She said, "Simran has started crawling, and she's climbing the beds, sofas, and everything. She's moving. She has started moving." And so we were very, very happy. She said, "Okay, very good." And so things move, things carry on. Then one day so we were living separate. My wife and me were living separate for almost 5.5, 6 years, because she was getting my daughter treated. She had left her job, and I used to fly to Bombay every second week to see her. And because you have your own neighborhood, friends, relatives, and my maid was there, so everything was taken care of. So Now Simi is in a condition where she's only crawling, moving, and doing things, and she can't eat on her own. Fingers are not still moving. All those things are still carrying on. So one day when I'm sitting on a Thursday and watching movie, because either Friday, Saturday, wo dino mein chutti hoti thi. So my wife calls me at about 1:30 in the night, and she tells me, she's from Bombay. She tells me there's somebody in the house. So I panic. I ask her, where is the servant? She says, I gave her a holiday. I say, I asked you not to give holiday. Now, what do you mean somebody is there? She says, no, there is no human. I feel there is a ghost in the house. So I told her, no, not that house. That house has had the best of the experiences. Me, my dad, that cannot, there's no ghost in that house for sure. वो जिस किस्म के हमने experiences देखे वहां पे नहीं हो सकता है. So I tell her, tell me what is the problem? You tell me what is going on. She's saying for the past 20 minutes, Simran is talking to somebody and I can't see whom she's talking to. She's looking like this above the bed and talking to somebody. In her own, whatever she could mumble, jumble, whatever. And she says she has kept the temple door open. So my wife was sleeping on the same bed where my parents used to sleep. Of course, she was sleeping where my mom used to sleep, and on this side, my daughter used to sleep where my dad used to pray. And ये साइड पे टेम्पल है उसमें अटैच्ड एक दरवाजे के साथ. So बोला she has opened the temple door. She's talking to somebody. She's looking at the temple and some conversation is going on. Then I said, okay, be on the phone. Let us see what is happening. Then she says, oh, now she's taken the vibhuti packet and she's applying it on all the murtis and everything. She crawled, managed to do. She put the vibhuti, closed the temple and went to sleep. As if my wife is not there. So I said, don't worry, you have experienced something fantastic. She's seen somebody whom you have not seen. Anyway, so now coming back, my daughter is almost 3.5, and she was still not walking. And my wife used to ask, will she walk? Will she be normal? Though my wife is extremely positive, Mrs. Banatwala, Shobha auntie know her. She is a very positive person. But we all feel. But I used to tell her, no, Baba is showing everything is okay. Then one day when she was 3.5, Simi was watching TV, that is Simran. We were all watching TV and she saw a song. So she was very excited to get up and dance, and she says, and she gets up suddenly on her own and says, Papa, this is how they're dancing in the movie. And suddenly she's realizing she's got up, she danced few steps. And from that day, Simran started walking on her own also. And her problems are still not over. She's still, and of course, she was wearing crutches till about 5.5. She needed a shadow teacher. My wife was her shadow teacher. She couldn't go to bathroom on her own. She couldn't change her dress. She couldn't hold a glass. Still, she has difficulty in holding glasses. She couldn't tie her shoelace. She couldn't write because of paralysis in the hand. But today, she's an independent student. She can go to bathroom on her own. She's learning Kathak. She goes for performances also. She's learning karate. She's doing swimming. She's doing everything. And this is all by the grace of God. People say, many doctors and patients come to meet us and ask us, आप लोग ने क्या किया जो सिमी ठीक हो गई? अभी सबको क्या बोले कि क्या हुआ? There's something beyond the doctors, and I this is how God has been in our life. He gave me the greatest gift. He removed my fear. Not removed because I'm still a human, but मेरा fear काफी death से, separation से, sadness से कम हो गया है. And he has proven he can give you anything. You ask for anything. Forget financial, forget health. He even gives you before and post death. He gives you all those things. Whatever you ask. It's not just limited to what we believe. You can ask him anything. And one thing, but I realized from this entire episode, which was also I realized something about myself. I used to still cry sometimes. When I understood who my daughter is, I used to still cry and say, where is my dad? I wish I could go back to those days. And one day I asked myself, why am I still crying? I realized I was not crying for them. I was crying for myself. I was crying for the moments I enjoyed with them. So my love was also not so real for my parents. It's a hard truth, but I realized I'm very selfish. And, you know, in spite of getting what I got, I still wanted that. So it's a harsh lesson, but yes, I realized that I need to improve. And I have to thank God for whatever is there He has given me. Sairam.
Sairam, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing such deep experiences and such experiences which are really close to your heart. I mean, different aspects got highlighted throughout when you were talking. I was remembering many of our study circles, even my personal experiences. What Divyansh was saying the other day in the class, and like I'm sure another time Divash will share, but even his daughter was just recently born, had a very similar, all the very minute experience wherein, she was in danger as well with the same motion going into her lungs and all of that. So I could relate to some of those pains that you were talking about, and dreams wherein Swami would come in advance and tell you. I mean, a lot of that is very painful, and a lot of times we don't understand. For you, you were able to understand, बट इन आवर फैमिली वेरी रिसेंटली इट हैड बिकम लाइक स्वामी ड्रीम में कुछ तो गड़बड़ होने वाला है. तो वो मुझे फीलिंग पता है जो आप कह रहे हैं. इनफैक्ट आफ्टर आफ्टर मेनी मंथ्स 1 or 2 years very recently, not very recently, 2 weeks back I got Swami's dream, and when Swami was giving me a toffee I was diving and catching it. I think I caught COVID because right 2 days after that I got COVID. ये होता है. तो very I could relate to it. For, constantly keeping faith in Swami, even after he's showing you all that, he's telling you keep praying, and you pray, and then it doesn't come. It doesn't happen. What you want doesn't happen, and then you still keep faith in Swami. So I was remembering discussions which we have had on faith and prayer, and then in the end when you spoke about कि हमने ये भी डिस्कस किया था फिर in the class कि जो true love है हम रोते हैं because हमको लगता है कि हमको वो नहीं मिलेगा जॉय, राइट? एब्सोल्युटली दैट इट इज नॉट. इफ यू रियली लव दैट पर्सन, उनकी तो जर्नी स्टार्ट हो गई है, उन लोग तो खुश हैं, दे आर लाइटर, दे आर हैप्पियर, बट वी क्राई बिकॉज we are selfish. So very beautifully I was able to connect a lot of those things and with what you were saying, so thanks again for sharing. Probably I know we are kind of little short on time, but Amir, I know you have only 10-15 minutes, but maybe I'll just open it up for a 1 or 2 minutes. अगर और किसी को कुछ बोलना है to Kabir भैया about his experiences or any thoughts.
Yeah, I would like to add.
Yes, Pratik.
कबीर जी, आपने जैसे बोला that prayers के बारे में कि how your father prayed for you जब आप बहुत बीमार थे. The similar experience I had with my son. Like I went to Bodh Gaya and he was vomiting as well, diarrhea, and we didn't know anything. We just went. I was sitting in front of that Buddha Bhagwan ka, that big statue. I said, same Shakti wahan bhi hai, yahan bhi hai. If it's the same, then it should help. It will work here also, that prayer. Intense prayer, you won't believe वो vomiting भी stop हो गई, and everything stopped that very moment. और एक आपने जो बोला कि स्वामी ने बोला he is with me about your father. Swami said, yeah, मैं ये चीज सुनी हूँ. When I was staying, मैं mother की body जा रही थी, I was sitting चरण के पास माँ का, and मैं सर झुकाई हुई थी और मैं पूछ रही थी, स्वामी स्वामी where is my mom? This was my continuous question, and I could very clearly hear Swami's voice. She is with me. यही word था. Your mom is with me. तो ये मैं यही बताना चाह रही थी कि हर कुछ रिलेट कर पा रहे थे आप जो बोल रहे थे, और मेरे को इंस्टेंटली ये एक्चुअली स्वामी की आवाज सुनी है कि शी इज विथ मी, योर माँ इज विथ मी। तो ऐसे ऐसे सोल हैं, मैं सुन करके बहुत कुछ रिलेट कर पा रहे हैं, बहुत कुछ समझ रहे हैं अभी तो। सो इट वाज वंडरफुल हियरिंग इट।
थैंक यू, थैंक्स टू बाबा।
यस यस ऑफ कोर्स,
थैंक्स टू बाबा।
वही तो कनेक्ट किया है सब।
Right.
Yeah.
Take anybody else? Otherwise, we'll go to Amir after this. All right. So why don't we start with you, Amir, and then in the end, if anybody has any thoughts, we can get back to the group. But why don't you share with us some of the things that you were talking about earlier? Thank you again, Kabir. Amir.
Yep.
All yours.
So Sairam to everyone.
Sairam, Sairam.
Okay, so I have already penned down my points, so I won't take too much of time. So I'll just begin with the fact that I of course got introduced to Swami through Ashu and Devyansha's family, and I used to visit their house, as a friend initially, and then I got pretty close to them. Started seeing, how Swami has been an integral part of their journey. So like a curious mind, I started understanding and stuff. So I was just a distant observer. I'll straight away come to 2020 when I started writing Devyansha's directorial debut film, Palatwar. And I had a co-writer with me, and we started writing the story. कहानी शुरू हुई, ये नहीं पता था कि वो कहानी लिखते लिखते मेरी अपनी एक कहानी बन रही साइड बाय साइड. So हुआ ये that 2020 at the beginning when I was about to start writing the story, I was already going through clinical depression. In fact, so I'm pretty much open and vocal about it because there's nothing to hide. I have been on medications since 2020 March, and they are still going on. So 2020 was the year when, of course, we were all in confinement because of lockdown and stuff. A lot of things added to it. And one day I remember calling up Divyansh at around 11:30, 12 in the night. And I was just crying because there was a very strong urge from within to, end my life. I got suicidal for the first time. I had not experienced anything like that earlier. So it was a very new feeling. He quickly got into action and he took the necessary measures. I was fine in the next couple of days. I moved on. And this happened in the month of September 2020. And by December, I started feeling as if I never had depression. And I don't know how and why. Not to forget that during that entire process, I was also on medications, but the biggest mistake I made was I quit medications all of a sudden. Now, moving forward in 2021, January was going good. I was narrating another film of mine to some actors and things were all progressing for me. So outside, things were going good. By the month of February, I remember it was roughly around Shivratri, when I started feeling a very mild dip mentally. And I didn't know what I'm getting into. Very soon, I realized that I have been sucked into depression for the first time, and this was a full-blown episode. Like this time, depression had taken on to my physical self as well. It was not just the mental self. We were, almost halfway down into the writing of the film by then. And I remember I called up Divyansh one morning and I told him that, this is what's happening and I'm trying to cope with it. लेकिन देखते कितना fight कर पा रहा हूँ, अभी मैं medications पे नहीं जा रहा हूँ दोबारा. He said, good, you're doing that, fair enough. But if in case you need anything, let me know. And सामने से he just called me again and he said that, let me do one thing. Can you arrange for someone to come to my place? मैं बाबा की विभूति का एक पूरा पैकेट तेरे को भेजता हूँ. You start having that water. By then, even then at that point of time, I was not. So I'm a junior KG student when it comes to Swami, and you guys are all graduates. So let's put it that way on the scale. So I was just still trying to understand. And of course, for me initially, I said in that situation, jo help mil jaye, bas just let it come. the Vibhuti packet came to me. I started having the water. I started praying to Swami every single day. I was dipping deeper and deeper into depression, so much so that my mom stayed with me for almost 2.5 months. And those 2.5 months, I actually felt that, so there are, I mean, I didn't want to actively commit suicide, but there was a passive tendency that, I don't want to do something, but if God takes me away right now, I'll be okay, because dealing with this is not working for me. I can't handle it. For almost 2.5 months, I would just lie on bed and look at the ceiling and do nothing. I would cry out of nothing. I would just be eating food and suddenly I would start crying. All of this went on, and I would deep within just keep praying to Swami that I said that, look, maybe I am not inclined towards you yet. Maybe I'm not following you yet. But if you're there somewhere, just come and bring me out of this. I am ready to do anything in return for this. And I would pray to that extent. Now, while I was dealing with this entire zone of my depression, which was the worst phase of my life till date, I suddenly get a call from my grandmother, who, in one word, has been more than my parents to me. I mean, I lost my dad when I was 9.5, and after he passed away, my nanny took care of me. She basically, Divyansh, camera off kar dena bhai, please. So my nanny took care of me, and yeah, she took care of me in terms of my education and my financial backing and everything. She was the one standing for me. I got a call from my neighbors in Ahmedabad, where she lived, that she is not well, and they said that she hasn't been eating food for almost the last 2 weeks. My mind suddenly switched from taking care of myself to taking care of her. Now I had to switch over the tables are turned. I was in touch with, so my mom is married again, and she's living with my dad now, and she's in a happily married life. So I spoke to my dad, I spoke to Divyansh simultaneously. I said, this is what's happened. I might have to just rush to Ahmedabad. And I will never forget the time that it was so tough on me at that point of time, because I was not mentally in the state to deal with anything, but I had to. So I remember Divyansh telling me long ago that chanting Om Sai Ram in itself, Swami always said that in itself is more than enough, to resonate with me and call upon me. And that kind of started becoming a habit from that moment when I got my Nani's news. So I started chanting Om Sai Ram, and I didn't have clarity what to do. Should I go to Ahmedabad? Should I not? Because COVID was almost at its peak at that point of time. I went to Ahmedabad, and mujhe yaad hai that the moment I entered the house, my neighbors came to me and they told me one thing. They said, your Nani is not eating at all. So I said, give her fruit juice or something of that sort. And they said, nahi, wo fruit juice bhi nahi kha pa rahi hai. And all my neighbors are, of course, they're Bori Muslims of my community. I didn't want to tell them anything about Swami, because that was not the time for me to get into a discussion. And I was like, if she doesn't eat, how will she take her medicines? And her doctor was on call with me, and he said that you have to feed her in some way or the other. My nani said to unko sweet apple ka pulp bhi unko muh mein jal raha tha, and we did not know why. I just went to my room. My mom, of course, knew that I was getting a little inclined towards Swami by then. So I took Vibhuti, which Divyansh had given me. I took that with me to Ahmedabad. So, somewhere I feel that Vibhuti was given to me during my depression by Divyansh, only for me to take it to Ahmedabad. Because what happened next was unbelievable for me. I took Vibhuti, I went to my Nani, and I just said, have this. I gave her Vibhuti. She didn't even ask me what it is. She was not in the condition. उन्होंने Vibhuti खाया. मैंने उनके गले पे और stomach पे थोड़ा लगा दिया, because she was passing loose motions and stuff. Her throat was burning. And I just prayed to Swami. I said, now it's over to you, because it's not in our hands at all. Saying that, I came in the living room, because they had to change her diaper and all of that. I came and sat in the living room, and within 5 to 10 minutes, I remember my neighbor came running out in the hall, and she was kind of baffled. She said, come inside, aapki nani ko khana khana hai tumhare saath. And I was like, I just went and I asked my nani, in Gujarati I said, do you want to eat? And she did this. So I said, doni wale khaoge mere saath? She just nodded. जो लेडी एप्पल का पल्प खा के मुंह जल रहा था, उन्होंने मेरे साथ 3 से 4 निवाले पुलाव खाया उस वक्त. I was in disbelief. That was the first time when I had tears in my eyes, and I went to my room like एक नौसिखिया था मैं. I didn't know how do you pray to Swami, how do you talk to him. मैंने वो विभूति का डब्बा हाथ में लिया and I just thanked him. I said, I don't know how you've done this, what you've done, but thank you. Of course, after that, Nani was hospitalized and we got to know that 50% of her lungs were damaged. She had COVID. Test negative आया था, but CT scan showed that she was positive. Nani's only dream was that she wanted to see me get married, because she knew that after my dad, and like how Kabir bhai also said, families sometimes are so amazing that you don't need them at all in your life. Sarcasm intended over here. So my mom and my Nani were the only two people who were literally in my northern and southern hemisphere of my world. नानी को ये था कि अगर मुझे कुछ हो गया तो एटलीस्ट मैं अपने बेटे को सेटल होते हुए देख लूं, एक अच्छा पार्टनर उसके लाइफ में आ गया देख लूं. बाकी ठीक है, she wanted me to have my own house, जो उन्होंने ही मुझे ब्लेस किया. So she did whatever she could. अब मैरिज मेरे हाथ में था नहीं. She was hospitalized for around 13 days, and one evening I just got a news from the hospital that she is no more. Of course, I had a breakdown, and I remember my Nani telling me just around a year ago from that date that she passed away. She said, कोई मेरे death day पे कोई हो या ना हो मेरे आसपास, I want you to be there. Now, just a one-line detail that I would want to give you all so that you understand the emotion out here. She's not my real Nani. She's my mother's sister. She's my mom's Masi. She could not conceive a child, and that is the reason she and my Nana, they adopted me when I was born. So they wanted to fulfill the emotions of parents through me as a child. So मेरा उनसे direct कोई blood relation था नहीं. It was just a God-made relationship that we both were fulfilling in some way, mainly her. So she said that during my last days, I might not have anyone around me. I want you to be there. You get down in the grave to bury me. I didn't know that when this will happen, COVID protocols would not let me get down in the grave. So I remember I was on call with Divyansh. In fact, Divyansh and Deepa uncle were throughout on call with me, helping me with the hospitalization and the contacts and whatever required in Ahmedabad. So I was on call with him and I told him, I said, it's finally happened. He was pretty much mentally prepared by then. And I said, I want to get down in the grave. And I was adamant on that. So I remember he telling me that don't do that. Don't mess with the authorities over there. It's COVID times. Ek kaam kar. Just take a t-shirt of yours and cut a part of it and put it with her symbolically that you are going with her in the grave to bury her. I said, okay. I just did that. And I remember him telling me on the call that also keep some vibhuti with her. Pray to Swami that she's coming to you and just keep vibhuti. उस वक्त मैंने उसको पूछा नहीं क्यों क्या. Obviously, I was rushing to the graveyard at that point of time. I took vibhuti with me. Now, I'm sure Munira aunty will understand this. जो मुल्ला साहब होते हैं, they are very, very particular about the entire procedure of burial and stuff. Things are a little more stringent when it comes to Islamic processes. So I remember I went to the graveyard with my Nani, and her body was lying there in the hearse. Believe me, when the body was shown to us in the hospital, I had a neighbor with me. So COVID times, when they pack it up and stuff, they just open the face portion and they show it to you to identify you're taking the right body or not. So they actually showed me the body. My neighbor was standing right next to me. I saw my grandmother's face. I cried. I said, yes, she's the one. Her face was flat. No expressions. Of course, it was a dead body. Flat face. We took her to the graveyard. I wrapped vibhuti, a packet of vibhuti in my cloth. And after the prayers were done, I told them, Mullah Sahab, I said, Sahab, मुझे ये रखना है उनके पास. He said, ठीक है, जो भी आपको रखना है रख दो. And then when I was about to keep it, he asked me, he said, "Kya hai, kya wo?" I said, "वो मेरा t-shirt का एक टुकड़ा है, मुझे रखना है." When I kept it inside, that t-shirt kind of opened up. I kept it next to her arm. The t-shirt opened up. I was standing a little afar. I could see the packet, and I was concerned that if he sees it, he will question me and he'll ask me to remove it. And he'll create a scene over here. Believe me or not, I just prayed to Swami. I said, "I want your vibhuti to go with her. I want your energies to go with her, Swami. Please be there." That Maulvi went right next to the body to pour water on her and make it holy. He did not see the vibhuti packet. When I went close to the body, I saw my grandmother smile. I have goosebumps as I'm saying this right now. Believe me or not, I saw her smile. I could not believe it. I asked my neighbor. So he was with me. I said, did you see her smile? And he just nodded in that moment. He didn't say much. The burial was done. There were some other people standing over there who came to help, and they all were praying namaz together. I asked each and every one of them, I said, did you all see a smile or was it my imagination? And I said, be honest, because I really want to know. And they said, no, we did see a smile on her face. There was a very different glow that we saw. And I just went back home with that belief in my heart that yes, Swami had come to her. I don't know how. I spoke to a doctor in our family also. I said, is it possible for the muscles to relax and hence look like the body smiling after death? I was trying to tell myself that no, this can't be Swami's miracle because it was too difficult for me to believe it. And the doctor in my family said that no, that doesn't happen. Maybe what you saw was an imagination only, but it's okay. Even if it is, you live with it. I didn't tell her the reality, but I lived with this truth. I knew what had happened over there. From here, Swami started showing his presence in my life. After this came a girl in my life. In the next 15 days, her name was the same name that was my grandmother's name. I thought, okay, this is mystique and stuff. What the way Swami plays his cards, I know you guys know it, but I also experienced it. It is unimaginable till the time the game is not over. You will never know the game. And I was talking to her, and she was again a Bori Muslim from Indore, and she belonged to a pretty, conservative religious family. So any connection with Swami was not even the farthest chance to happen. And while I'm talking to her on call, on the first call itself, I'm telling her my incidences with my Nani and stuff, and I happened to mention Satya Sai Baba. And she tells me that, are you talking about Puttaparthi Satya Sai? I said, yes. I said, you know about him? She says, I've studied in Satya Sai school in Indore. I actually told her, I said, give me 2 minutes. I can't digest this. I took a moment. I just paused. I just chanted again. Om Sai Ram became like a part of me by then. So I just chanted, and I was like, what are you doing? I can't handle so much of presence like this in my life. Ye itna nahi handle kar paunga. And I just continued my call. Of course, things went further. Families met. We eventually got engaged and stuff.
Amir, before you continue, would just like to remind you that not forget to mention the fact that a discussion that we had, that whatever the future is, good or bad,
of course,
this is his.
Of course. So obviously, when this incident happened, so in the next 1 week or so, I spoke to Divyansh. I said, okay, there is someone I'm in talks with and stuff. So when I told him about the incident, he said, bro, these are Swami's ways of showing his presence, and he just does it. But remember that this does not mean that she is the one and things will go fine. He's just showing his presence to you for a reason that we may not know today. So I said, fair enough. And that, of course, in that moment sounded, I was like, come on, don't tell me this. I wanted to work out because I want to now settle down. I want a partner, Somewhere the loneliness was, triggering from within. But what he said made a lot of practical sense. I lived with that thought. We got engaged, of course. There was not a single person from my blood family who was there. My family that was over there for my engagement in Indore was Divyansh and our entire gang. All of them were there, around 13 of them. And that's how I got engaged. And of course, from the girls' side, it was a huge ceremony. After the engagement, things started going down south. And with all due respect to the girl, she had issues with me following and believing in Satyasai. By then, I started believing. Now, when she had issues, I stood strong. And believe me or not, these internal conflicts, even Divyansh does not know. But every time my ex-fiance and I would have a huge clash on Satyasai, I would only pray to Swami and say that I don't know what is happening. But Swami, I know one thing, that if I have to right now in this moment choose between her and my faith in you, I'll choose my faith. For the only reason is because my conscience knows what I'm doing is not wrong. And she's the one who needs to evolve. She needs to become all inclusive and all accepting. My biggest takeaway, just going back in time, was the fact that when Divyansh told me that, the hospital in Parthi, the Satyasai hospital, does not have a billing counter, it just blew my mind apart. I was like, this is unbelievable and unseen in today's society. And of course, I got to know how he always said that, I'm here to make a Muslim a better Muslim, and so on. And I gave all this information to my ex-fiance, but things didn't work. I understand her conditioning was not such. And things just kept going down south. And eventually, I called off my engagement in January this year. Now, when I called off my engagement, of course, it was a mild setback and stuff. But on a holistic approach, yes, it was for the betterment. Now I had the discussion with Divyansh because he has been part of everything that has been happening around me. In fact, when I called off my engagement, we were together at that point of time. And when I told him, he just heard everything and he tells me that, you know what, this girl was God sent in your life. Now we go back in time and we start decoding everything. My depression phase of 2.5 months, my medications, which were not helping me at that point of time, moving forward, my grandmother falling ill, could have taken me into a bigger dip. And Swami sent this girl as a complete diversion of my mind. So much so that for the next 7 months, all I can see is, on one hand, my film. And I would actually say with a guilty mind that yes, my film also took a backseat because I was focusing more on her, because I wanted that to work out desperately for my loneliness to go away. 7 months, my mind is completely diverted, dressing up and this and that, and ceremonies and meeting the families and all celebrations. I forgot what is depression. And
I would like to add one thing. Amidst all this, I have been a direct source. I mean, I can be the direct source for information as far as Amir's entire journey is concerned. And I know him since 3-4 years. In my personal opinion, it's not an opinion, it's a fact, sorry. So I believe that Amir as a person, when it comes to him dealing with problems, like for example, how do we judge a person? Show that person in crisis. How will that person deal with those crises? How well or bad? I mean, that is one of the biggest ways how you can judge a character. What I saw Amir become after those 7 months to 1 year Kapura Joska with his fiance, the day he came out of it, starting all the way from his depression issues, which is clinical, he was having the highest prescribed drug, to him calling off his wedding. He's a different man today. He's a different person today. When he deals with things, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, he came out stronger, he came out better, he came out spiritual. When I say spiritual, I don't mean he sits and does bhajans every day. I mean spiritual, I mean when it comes to dealings, this is not just me, but everyone in my entire team, the entire Wild Buffaloes entertainment team, they have seen that arc of Amir Bengali from being the vulnerable. I mean, there is nothing wrong in being vulnerable, but from being vulnerable to this particular period where he stands today, it's a fantastic transformation. And me saying one line to him, it was Swami only. Imagine उसका सब कुछ जा रहा है, सब सही हो रहा है, and he's about to, you know, everything is getting fine. Finally, things are looking good. Why will I say something like this to him that, you know, this might not work out also? But don't think that Swami ka job teri shadi karwana tha. Swami's job maybe was to just get you out of your problem, and Swami has his own ways. Like, you know, when I say own ways, matlab Swami says, "Na, my miracles are my visiting cards." He just wanted to show you that I am there, and probably I'll take care of all the shit that you're going through. Probably, even if I'm not taking care of the shit that you're going through, I'll give you the strength to deal with it. You know? So I have seen that transformation, and me saying at that time when things were all fine. In fact, even me and my entire team was again and again called there, ki Divyansh bhai, aajo, we'll have a fantastic time. To him calling off the wedding, it didn't affect him the way it would have it if it was the Purana Amir that I normally, you know, use this jargon.
Yeah.
Purana Amir and Naya Amir.
Mhm.
So Naya Amir is like literally the Naya Amir jo ghar mein ghusta bhi aur marta bhi hai, you know, the Uri
Yeah.
attack wala Amir, you know, he's that kind of a man today. So yeah, I just wanted to add this because I am probably the direct source of information that can happen from Amir's side.
Yeah, he's been the first-hand witness to all of this. So as soon as this year Jan came, of course, as I said, my depression was gone, and along with that, my fiance was also gone. I mean, I've actually written LOL in my book over here while I was writing my notes. So now this is where I'll just take another 5 to 6 minutes. I'm about to end. Now Swami started showing his presence to me literally जैसे एक रेड अलर्ट सिटी में नाकाबंदी होती है ना, जिस गली में जाओ वहां नाकाबंदी मिलेगी. अब मैं जहां जा रहा हूं मुझे स्वामी मिल रहा है. And wherever Swami is, I want to tell him that please continue doing this. Nazar na lage is baat ko, just please continue doing what you're doing with me. So I, of course, I did not mention this, but I'm also the co-author on Divyansh's father's biographical book. So along with his, cousin Sheetal, I am co-authoring that book. Now there is one chapter which I'm writing a couple of them in the book, but one of the chapters I wanted to start that chapter with a particular reference to a historical character. I had read about that character somewhere, and I discussed that with Sheetal, and I said that, I want to start with this because this character ka ek jo quote hai, that quote resonates with the kind of personality that Deepa uncle is. And I said, now I just hope, okay, this is very, very uncanny what has happened. I said, now Dida, I just hope when I start researching on this character, it's a historical character. And I said, when I start researching, I just hope that he does not turn out to be a negative character in the past. Otherwise, I can't use him in the book. Jabki his quote is very much like what uncle is in real life. Believe it or not, I researched for at least 2 to 3 days at a stretch. And I was so stuck with that thought, I just could not move on with my writing. I kept on researching YouTube, all the Google links and stuff. I got no information on him. I barely got a few write-ups here and there. And I was like, that's not enough. And I was a little frustrated one day, and I just went to Sheetal's house and I sat with her and I was discussing her chapters. I said, I want to leave my writing right now. I just forget it. I'm frustrated. So I said, let me hear what you've written, the chapters that she's written. During that discussion, I was listening to her. Everything was done. While I was coming back home, I again started chanting Om Sai Ram. I kept on chanting. And I told Swami, I said, Swami, just help me with this because I know somewhere intuitively that this thought is going to work wonders. Just help me. Please help me. I come back home that night. I was about to sleep. I am in bed. Something comes to my mind. I get up again. I come out to the living room. I switch on my laptop and I start researching again. I get 4 detailed links on that personality. I got a detailed video on YouTube, जो मैं पहले भी search कर चुका था, but नहीं मिला. And I'm not kidding. Okay. Till here, I can still give it a benefit that maybe my search engine was wrong or something technically went here and there, and I found it. But as and when I started reading about that character, his life journey has been exactly how uncle's life journey has been. I discussed this with Didda, with Sheetal. The first thing she said is that ye kahani hum nahi likh rahe. And I told her, I said, ye kahani hum nahi likh rahe. This story is literally being written by Swami. I said, this uncanny resemblance between that historical character who no one has heard about. He was a huge personality in China. No one has heard of him in mainstream, history and stuff. I started writing from there, and now it has been a seamless journey in the last, I would say, a week or so.
Yeah.
One, I was talking to a girl for marriage. I met someone because I also moved on in life, and through shadi.com only, where I've applied and stuff, I found someone. I spoke to her, got into a conversation. On day one itself, I get to know that her family is a strong devotee of Satya Sai. I'm like, ye ho kya raha hai ye? And you know what? I actually end up asking the other person couple of times to be sure. I'm like, 1 second, you mean Satya Sai? You mean the curly hair Satya Sai from Puttaparthi? And the girl is like, yeah, of course. There's a huge photo in our house. My father is a diehard follower, devotee. My entire family is. I recalled Divyansh's statement every time, and today I'm telling him, even he didn't know this. I recall the statement that Swami's presence does not mean everything is fine. It may also mean that he's here to protect you from something wrong, or like he said, to give you the strength. I started talking to this girl for another couple of days. I chanted Om Sai Ram. I thanked him. I said, you've shown your presence again to me. Whatever it is, just let the truth unfold, because doodh ka jala chhas bhi phuk phuk ke peeta hai. So now I want to be very careful. In the next 4-5 days, in a conversation, the girl slips out by mistake, and she ends up telling me that she was habituated with, weed and cocaine and stuff. And I had asked her these questions in the beginning indirectly that, do you drink, smoke? Do you have any such habits or anything of that sort? And she said nothing at all on day one of my conversation. She says nothing at all. And a week later, it slips out of her conversation. And when it slipped out, I caught it. I asked her. She denied. I interrogated after that. And she ended up saying that, I'm sorry, I lied to you, but this is not something that a girl can tell a guy. We're just talking to him for marriage. That was the day when I decided that I'm not talking to her anymore. And I told her very, very politely, I said, I don't think we can continue this conversation because that doesn't work for me. And very gracefully, things ended. Moving forward, many other incidences of meeting girls and all happened, didn't work out. One day, this is the last part of my discourse. One day, Divyansh happens to tell me that, you should reconcile with your ex-girlfriend. And I know her since my childhood, like we literally grown up together. So today I know her since 11 years now. So he said, you should just reconcile with her. Not telling him anything, I took that thought with me and I was pondering over it. Now it so happened that I told my mom. I said, and I believe in Kundli and stuff. So I told my mom, I said that, can you just talk to, there's an astrologer that we know who's really good. I said, can you just talk to the astrologer and find out if, my Kundli is fine or not? So she said, you want to reconcile? I said, let's see. Right now, just find out with the Kundli. So I had her details and my mom figured out things and all that. Astrologer ki taraf se koi jawab nahi aaya. Mom said, jab jawab aayega, I'll let you know. Now, assuming this day is day one, in the next 7 to 8 days, I am in touch with that girl again, because I had sent her my, film announcement link and all of those things, and she congratulated, and we started talking. Now, when I got in touch with her, okay, this is an emotional turmoil that I went through. मुझे कहीं ना कहीं लगने लगा कि अब हम लोग के बीच में वो बात नहीं रही है जो पहले थी when we were together. 2018 was the last time that I was with her. After that, I moved on and a lot of things happened in life. And of course, I was even engaged after that. So emotions मेरी तरफ से वो नहीं थे. When I got in touch with her, my mind went to a strong complexity. Should I go further? Should I not? Should I go further? Should I not? And I was in that tug of war in my head. I spoke to my mom also about it. My mom gave me a lot of positive, talks, a lot of positive talks. but somewhere something was holding me back from within. And I was like, I don't feel the same anymore. I started chanting very strongly. I don't know when Kabir Bhaiya said that, Baba told him that pray strongly, pray hard. I don't know what that meant, but somewhere I felt that there's that earnest calling I had from within. I chanted, I said, Baba, please show me the right path. Believe it or not, I would work out in the gym and I would chant over there also. In between my sets, I would just sit and just chant. And I kept telling him, I was like, please show me the path because I have a lot of emotional turmoil. Now I'm in a whirlpool. अब मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा मैं ऐसे बाहर कैसे निकलूं? Because I'm talking to her also. I'm getting attached. And while I'm getting attached, a part of me is saying that, no, don't go ahead because things are not the same. You're forcing yourself into it. Don't force yourself into it. That very night when I chanted to Swami very strongly, sorry, not that night, the night I chanted, the next evening, my mom texted me out of the blue and she says that I got a response from the astrologer and this is like day 8 or day 9. And she says that I've got a clear no from the astrologer. That the Kundlis are not matching at all. And the astrologer ended up saying certain things which had actually happened in our life earlier, which even the astrologer did not know. And when she said no, I said, I've got my answer. She's like, let me finish at least. I said, you don't need to, mom. And then I told her, I said, I've been chanting to Swami a lot for clarity. I was not getting it. How come after 8-9 days, and the astrologer is my mom's friend, she would respond to her like within 24 hours, within 4 hours, within 7 hours, every day. She's not in India, she's in Australia.
I think the common link I'm seeing is like for Kabir Bhaiya also. You're both in different stages of life, but I think Swami shows presence, and I think your kind of stories continuing yet to evolve.
And that's begun. The presence has begun, and now I'm only praying to him that he keeps showing this to me.
I think all Swami is doing with Amir is just saving him from love stories. Probably Swami wants him to just join study circle and
Yes, Amir. So correct, Divyansh is right. So maybe what you do, Amir, is you should join us more often in the study circle and keep us updated on what is the most recent update here and how Swami is showing his presence. But
without telling the name of the girl, but these stories are very interesting. Yeah. Like Swami is just saving you. Basically, Swami is saying that don't get married, man.
Right.
Just don't get married.
Correct. And in the interest of time for today, I know we're already over like 20-25 minutes. So sorry to everybody for extending.
Sorry, Kabir Bhaiya took 45 minutes. I also took exact 45 minutes. Sorry.
नहीं लो यार, ये सुनने में मजा आ रहा है. आप बोलते रहो.
But Amir, so please continue. Keep us posted. But
I will.
Did you want to have any closing thoughts before we end with Samastaloka? Otherwise, are we good from your end?
I think we're good from my end. I think my presence that Swami is showing, I'm only thanking him. Ek last line bolunga that yes, what the guy said, that problems, the way I deal with it. Also, somewhere I take inspiration from the way his dad, of course, Ashu, a bit of what I've seen. The way they deal with issues that Swami ne problem diya, to Swami hi nikalenge. That thought process and that selfless submission is something which I'm now trying to practice. It's a long way to go, but I know I'm on that path already. Let's see how far do I go.
Very inspiring, Amir. I think you should give this entire speech once again in Dharmakshetra, probably in Samarpan.
Right. And
तब तक और बहुत presence आ जाएगा और लड़की आ जाएगी तब तक.
No, bro.
Right. And also on the chat, if especially Kabir Bhai and Amir have not seen, there are other messages. Special as always, Bindu Bhai's word plays very interesting. So thank you everybody for also contributing on the chat.
I'm just
but
reading
with
it.
this,
Thank you
we
so
will.
much.
Yes, we'll close the session with Samastaloka. Sairam, everybody. Thank you so much.
So Ashu, please send us the recording files. I missed Kabir's part. I was late.
Absolutely. Yeah. His was also a very fascinating story. Thank you, Kabir Bhai, again.
Thank you, Amir. Very nice. Beautiful.
Actually, sorry.
Acha, oh shit.
Loka sukhino bhavantu samastaloka sukhino bhavantu समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Everyone.
Just a second.